Cool.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another installment, another edition of Work Your Career Wednesday. As always, I'm Bradley Clark, and I'm so thrilled, so blessed, and honored that you guys decided to tune in today and join us. And I got to tell you, I am over the moon there for several reasons, and we're going to get to that in a minute. My guest today is absolutely fantastic, and just wait until you hear this. And when you guys meet him, this is going to be great. But before we get to Mr. Jaynes, let me talk to you about White Husky Films. If you have anything and everything pertaining to video, and you want that documented, podcast, a movie, a presentation, a conference, anything and anything, a commercial. How about that, Casey? How about that? A commercial even. Get in contact with Steven Saldana at White Husky Films. The number is on the screen, as well as just go ahead and go to www.whitehuskyfilms.com and dream, create, record. And when you choose White Husky, you'll be so glad you did. And introducing our newest sponsor, let me tell you, Jaynes Physical Therapy. You want to go to Jaynes Physical Therapy. Incredible. They do home health care, home physical therapy. They are all over Louisiana. And when I get to introducing Mr. Casey Jaynes, you're going to understand why I am so excited. Casey is a doctor. All right. He started his collegiate career at Louisiana State University. He got his doctorate from the University of St. Augustine for health sciences. He's a DPT, let me tell you, a doctor of physical therapy. He started his journey in 2008. Now he has his own company called Jaynes Physical Therapy, and we are proud, we are honored, and just over the moon that Jaynes Physical Therapy is now a sponsor of Work Your Career Wednesday. So without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce you to the person that is Casey Jaynes. Are you ready? The man, the myth, the legend. Everyone, make welcome Casey Jaynes. How are you, man?
Hey, doing great. Thank you very much.
Now I tell you what, that intro would rival Steve Harvey's. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that might be the best intro I've gotten.
Oh man. Well, you know what? We are just over the moon thrilled that you're a sponsor. We're just, oh gosh, I'm so just really honored that we're partnering in this endeavor. I got to tell you, one of the things that makes our show kind of unique is, we really try to get into the people, behind the title, the person behind the company, all of that. And I thought our audience would really like to know who we're going to be talking about for the foreseeable future. And really, I think once they hear your story, I'm pretty positive you're going to be getting a lot more calls. So Casey, just welcome, and let's get right to it.
Yeah.
So real quick, tell us, I don't know, give us kind of a brief history on Casey. What's your story, sir?
Story. From when I was born.
I mean, we can start wherever you want.
Yeah, no, I did. So I did my undergraduate at LSU from New Orleans, and went to LSU. From there, I think it was my sophomore year. I had a friend in high school who wanted to be a physical therapist, and he is a physical therapist. He was the first one to mention that to me, and I didn't really understand what physical therapy was. Didn't have a working knowledge of what the profession was, what a physical therapist did. And he kind of explained it to me, kind of like, when you say rehab, it's like, I'm in high school, I've never done anything like that before. I'm like, okay, rehab. And he's like, yeah, if you hurt yourself, I'm like, okay. But I mean, you don't really understand what it is. Like, you have an idea, like, okay, you help people get better if they hurt themselves or something along those lines. but not like a real working knowledge of like the process involved. So for me, I guess that was in the back of my mind. Like he invited me to go. It was a clinic that was a friend of his had, and I think he was helping out, like doing some volunteer hours there. Because before you go to PT school, you have to volunteer or be a tech or have some kind of experience hours. So he invited me there. I went and checked it out, kind of showed me around a little bit. And this would have been, senior high school. So it was in the back of my mind, but, that was about it. So I guess fast forward to, maybe a couple years later, I really remember like freshman year, any kind of substantial interest or thoughts about physical therapy. But at some point, I remember, again, it was in the back of my mind that I remember one day, my second year, my third semester at LSU, waking up one day and it's just like, I think I want to be a physical therapist. And just looking back on it, I can see that's how God was leading me then. Didn't realize it at the time, but just was like, okay, I think this is what I want to do. And I remember it was my third semester. It was the last day to drop without a W. So I go see my counselor and I'm following biology, basic sciences, because I thought, you know, I could probably, if I did want to do physical therapy or whatever I wanted to do, I could probably do through that. I was, always encouraged, like, could always check out pre-med, something like that. Always studied hard, did well in school. So I just thought that would keep my options open. So come to find out, it's in the College of Education. So basically, I lost some classes to electives, and of course, being the last day to drop without a W, there was nothing that I could take that would have been going toward my major. It was all just more electives. So, but from there, that's how I kind of decided that's what I want. That's when I decided what I wanted to do, and then it wasn't until I volunteered. I did some volunteer hours. I guess that's following summer. And when I did that, after it was within the first 2 weeks, it was like a week or two of doing the volunteers in an outpatient clinic, and I really enjoyed it. And that's when I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. So from that moment on, that was what I pursued as far as, this is, declare my major previously, but that's when I was set for sure. This is it. This is what I want to do. I'm sticking with this to the end. So from there, actually, it was a few years. I didn't graduate before. I went 5 years and took a year off, and then went to physical therapy school, which was really good. So I wound up going fifth year to LSU because I played music. To graduate before, I had to give up music. I played Tiger Band. My fifth year being the year we beat Oklahoma for the national title. That was a lot of fun. I also played the jazz band and took lessons for non-majors as well. Played trumpet. So had a really good time with that. I'm really glad I did that. It was actually a decision I had to make to stay because I was really set on going 4 years PT school and start my career. But just felt that's the direction God was leading me. So went ahead, stayed that fifth year. That turned into taking the year off as well. I worked with one of the campus ministries there, Chi Alpha Christian Fellowship, worked with them for a year. And then from there, went to the physical therapy school, St. Augustine, Florida, or University of St. Augustine in St. Aug, Florida. So did that, had a really good time with it. It was a good place to be for a couple of years. I was ready to come home when I was done. And the reason I wanted to go to St. Aug was for outpatient therapy. It's a really big emphasis on manual physical therapy and stuff you would use in the outpatient setting. Most people who apply there, are very interested in outpatient therapy. Not everybody, but most people. So I was pretty much set on it. I remember even in school, a friend of mine, he and I were both we were set outpatient therapy. One of the teachers, probably one of the neuroscience classes or neuromuscular classes, was like, just make sure you always, keep an open mind. You never know what you're going to get into. And my friend and I looked at each other like, yeah, some people might not know what they want to do. We know what we want to do. So neither of us taking an outpatient job out of school. So he took a hospital job, and actually I was really pursuing outpatient. And I remember, so when I graduated, it was 2008 or December 07. So back then, I mean, you get a job like just in an instant. It was like you put out, everybody's looking for PTs. So I remember when I was talking to a recruiter, and it took like just a couple of days longer than I thought. So, instead of a day or two, maybe it was 3 or 4. And it was just long enough to feel like, well, maybe God's trying to speak to me. So I felt like when I paused and kind of thought about it and prayed about it a little bit, I felt like he was leading me to this home care job. I was on the side. I was corresponding with somebody. It was a company. It was hospice care, which I was not interested in that much, but it paid really well. And I was like, man, I could pay off my loans in like a couple of years like this. So I was kind of checking into it. The vice president of the company I was corresponding with, and he saw my resume. He saw I had some missions work on there. He's like, hey, I'm a Christian, and if you're ever interested in doing a travel here or there, kind of like missions or whatever, just let me know. I can definitely help you out. So they didn't. Wow, reliving this in the moment. But
It's awesome,
so
man. Yeah.
actually, hey, just gotten back, to Louisiana, to New Orleans. Um, and from there, I went to Covenant Church, which is where I go to church now, Jesse Duplantis Ministries. Second time I walked in there, I knew in my heart, this is where God's called me. I'm still there now, 15 years later, 16 years later. And so from there, once I knew that in my heart, I was like, well, I can't travel because I was really looking to do potentially some travel therapy, or at least maybe something kind of closer. Maybe I was actually checking into maybe going like a couple spots around the country,
So,
and
so,
that kind
so,
of wasn't working out with the people I thought. So then I was kind of looking at something a little bit more local.
so,
What's that?
so hold steady. I mean to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
okay. So this was, we're at Odysseus. Am I saying that right?
Oh, Amethyst. Yeah, Amethyst.
A met,
So,
a medicine. Excuse me.
and
A
it stands
medicine.
for a medical system, is what it stands for.
I
So
mean, now
that's
that
how
I'm
everybody's like, is
trying,
this Amadeus? All the
right.
patients, they're like, they couldn't pronounce it. I didn't know what
I'm
it was
trying,
either.
I'm trying to, recall all of my Latin and Greek to make sure
Yeah.
that,
So
but
that was the first
so,
job that I took out of school was a medicist, home health care. And so the
mhm,
vice president of that company referred me to the company that owned them, because I wasn't going to travel. He's like, well, you can check in with a medicist. That's the parent company for us.
mhm,
And I think they had a position open. So when I was going to apply for the position, I just really felt in my heart like this is where God's leading me, and
yeah.
this is a position I can take or leave, but I feel that's God's direction. So I went in for the interview. He offered me the job, and I took it, and been in home health since. So that was, I guess, that would be June '08. I took a few months off, studied for the boards, passed those. Took another, I guess, I think it would have probably had another month after that. I think I took the boards in May or something, and started work in June.
So okay, so you go from there, you go to Omni,
Yeah.
right? From
So I was at
Emeritus.
Medicine for 4 years,
Yep.
and I was employed there, W-2.
Mhm.
Just felt like I was putting my heart to pursue some contract work. I didn't know anything about it. And in my mind, I was like, well, I guess I'll just see if they'll let me switch over to a 1099 to be contracted. Um, I
It's
didn't really know much.
interesting. Like
So
you were thinking, I mean, you hadn't even had the inkling, and then all of a sudden you have the notion, sort of, God leading you toward contract. You do the contract for almost 3 years,
so yeah, I was
two and a
subcontract.
half
I didn't know
years.
anything about it.
Yeah,
Then I was actually trying to just switch over to a 1099 with a medicist. The office was fine with it, but the upper management, they didn't want to have anybody contracted. They wanted everybody to be an
sure.
employee. So I wound up just resigning, and it was good. Had a good time there. Had a really cool team of therapists. Enjoyed working with them, and yeah, threw me a little party when I was leaving and stuff. But
Well,
so
I mean,
not
that
knowing anything
says
about
something. That says something.
it was
So,
good. I
so,
enjoyed my time there.
so, you get in with the medicist, you decide you're gonna, do contract, and it really those two companies that you worked for laid the groundwork for Jaynes Physical Therapy or
Yeah.
JPT, right?
Yes.
So it really, really interesting. So, it's not an easy thing for someone, particularly if they're used to, getting their check, and how they're getting it, to
Yeah.
say, you know what, I think I'm going to start a business. So what
Yeah.
what happened? Did you feel? Because I want to get into you're saying a lot when you say, I felt God leading me here, and I felt God's telling me to do this, so obviously you're steeped in the Lord, right? Like
Oh,
this is like He's
absolutely.
your foundation, and we're going to get to that.
Yep.
But you're on a contract, you decide that, you know what, I well, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, but you're thinking, you know what, I got some good experience here. Maybe I can do this on my own. Maybe I can, apply what I've learned. Walk us through that.
So that's not what I was thinking at all. um, yeah, I really didn't know, man. God
Yeah.
walked me through it step by step. Because again, I wasn't even looking at home care. That was, I mean, in school you do your internships, you do outpatient clinic, you do inpatient, the long stay hospital, inpatient rehab, and you do acute care, which is short stay hospital.
Mm.
That's my three internships. I didn't. The only experience I had in home health was one of my instructors. She did home health on the side, and she invited me to one of her visits to go with her. And I remember the visit exactly. And that was the one visit, and that was my experience in home health. I didn't know anything about it. Was not looking to get into it. I was really set on outpatient therapy.
Mm.
So again, from there, just felt as though God was leading me. So I did it for 4 years. Felt like He was leading me to pursue contract work. I couldn't switch over to contract status, so I was like, well, I guess I'll resign. I'll pursue that. Didn't know anything about it though, so I wound up, picking up with somebody who had a contract. I was subcontracted for 2.5 years. From there, that really kind of expanded my mindset. When I was hired by medicine, I was hired for a smaller area. At that time, I was also different phases in life, and so I had a lot more going on. I guess just extracurriculars, all of which was pretty much with kids. But between young adults and stuff, and just helping with with kids and parking lot, whatever they needed to do, I would do it. But New Orleans mission, stuff like that. So each day of the week, I think it was like small group. I led a small group. It was worship team one night. It was New Orleans mission one night. It was church one night. And at that point, I was still in the New Orleans area, and my family, most of my family moved up to Baton Rouge. So usually weekends would be like visiting Baton Rouge most weekends. So I was running like a tight schedule. But anyway, back to the being subcontracted, I did that. Kind of expanded my mindset to where like, oh, I can cover these, I can cover a much bigger area and just, make it work. Because I found out pretty quick. I'm like, well, if I'm just covering a small area, the visits aren't really as many as I want them to be. So, kind of learned, how it works. It broadened my mindset a little bit as well. And then after about 2.5 years, the caseload was dropping a little bit. I guess kind of running through it. After about a year, I think the caseload dropped a little bit because they lost their rotation with one of the hospitals. And so it dropped down for a few months. During that time, I picked up with a second group. And that group is how I got exposure to Egan Home Health, which is who I initially signed on with. So when I guess it picked back up and they got back on the rotation with East Jefferson General Hospital, which is a local hospital in the New Orleans area. Caseload picked back up again. I was busy. I dropped off with the second company. I just really felt in my heart that God wanted me to stay with the primary one that I initially signed on with. So that's what I did. Fast forward another year and a half, that started to dry up a little bit. The guy was, I think he was starting to get a little more involved. The guy who ran the company, I think he was getting a little more involved with seeing more visits on a regular basis than previously. So caseload had kind of dropped down, and they made some changes as far as Medicare. So we didn't have as many visits as far as like supervisory stuff, because I was in a supervisory role, and so we didn't have as many supervisory visits required because of just the structure of how they did stuff. So that got lower again than I wanted, and I was like, this really isn't as consistent as what I'm looking for. And I remember, kind of, the one it was a Sunday night. I was going to bed or about to go to bed. I checked my schedule, and I had some visits pulled off of there, and I was like, this is a lot less than what I want. So I was starting the week really low. I was like, God, I really feel like this is where you have me. I kind of did a heart check, and I was like, I'm not going to dwell on this. I'm just going to go to bed. So I went to bed next morning during my devotion time. Very clearly in my heart, I heard, call so-and-so, who was the therapy director at Egan Home Health at the time. So I was like, okay. And I was leaving. So go through, that morning, I leave out to see my first patient. And I'm just thinking about when's a good time to call him. And I was probably about halfway there. And I just really felt in my heart, call him now. And so I did. I called her. It had been probably about a year since I'd been around. She remembered me, liked me. She's like, oh, I remember you. You're a good PT. Come on in and talk to me. So I did, and I was interested in, helping in the areas that they needed help in. So she hired me on the spot. And then from there, it's kind of rest is history to how it all kind of grew pretty quick. I guess I can go into that too if you want me to. But they asked me, for some extra help here, some extra help there, and then all of a sudden it's a lot of responsibility that I committed to.
Well, it's pretty cool. Sort of your journey. And again, a medicist to when you were a contractor, and that kind of laid the groundwork for what would become JPT,
Yeah,
and
it
you
did.
have been running this, building this company really for 8 years, a little over 8.5 years.
Yeah,
um did you ever think that you'd be saying, wow, I've been like, the managing director or the
no,
CEO for,
not what I ever saw.
I mean, you're about to hit 10 years,
Yeah,
I mean, you think
wow.
about it. I mean, wow, in one case, in one way, entrepreneurs, they always, and I know it from my own experience, it's like, you go, 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 go to build something. And then all of a sudden you look up and it's like, oh
Yes,
my gosh, it's been 20 years. Where did that go? You know?
yeah,
And so I think it's really an amazing journey that has
yeah,
taken you from where you were to where you are now. Uh, we're going to take a quick break.
sure.
Probably going to be talking about a little company called Jaynes Physical Therapy,
Sounds good.
but stick right with us. We will be back after this, more with Mr. Jaynes himself. Hey everybody, Brad Clark here with Work Your Career Wednesday, and I wanted to come on and share something. It's a little personal, unless you know me, I don't talk a whole lot about the injuries I sustained because of 3 car accidents. Not only that, when I was a working musician and traveling a lot, my not only because of the travel, but my shows were pretty energetic, and so I would exacerbate any injury that I had from the previous accidents. And I'm not sure that I actually healed completely from those. Sustained heavy injury to my neck, my back, my hips, and my left leg. And that said, I was able to actually go to see a physical therapist. Right, I wasn't homebound yet, but I can't imagine if I was. Listen, Jaynes Physical Therapy, if you're in the New Orleans, North Shore area, you need to contact Casey Jaynes, Jaynes Physical Therapy. He has some of the best physical therapists that specialize in home healthcare that will get you or your loved one up and walking around in however long it's going to take for you to be walking around. I know that the physical therapy that I was able to get was absolutely fantastic. And I'm telling you, if you need it, you need to contact them. Also, we are looking for 2 more physical therapists to add to the JPT team. If you are in the North Shore area or sort of New Orleans proper, that can go up to Baton Rouge, please go onto LinkedIn, go to the search tab, search Jaynes Physical Therapy, click on the jobs link and apply. I am telling you. Oh well. By the way, we'll have the link in the body of this, in the description, the body of this post. But please get in contact with them. They are second to none, and not only in their talent, but just as a company as a whole, they're amazing. So get in contact with them if you need physical therapy and it's in home. If you've had a surgery or maybe you have a loved one that is homebound, get in contact with Jaynes Physical Therapy. If you're a physical therapist looking for a job, get in contact. Go to LinkedIn and look them up, Jaynes Physical Therapy. Until next time, stay tuned. We're going to have more to come. And thanks a lot. Talk soon. Hey, everybody, we are back. Thank you so much for joining us again. I can't believe it. I am, again, over the moon. Our latest sponsor, Jaynes Physical Therapy, the CEO, managing director, the man, is with us today. Casey Jaynes, I can't believe it. I'm so excited and I'm so over the moon to be a partner with JPT. Really. Now you're hiring, and we're gonna get to all that, but you are hiring
Yes.
2 physical therapists right now, one for, and we'll go into it, Greater New Orleans, and you guys call it North Shore, sort of
North Shore, New
in that
Orleans. Yeah, north of the lake.
North Shore, New Orleans, and we're gonna get to that. I'm gonna tell you right now, again, I'm a 23-year veteran recruiter. These positions are absolutely fantastic. They if you're into helping people and making a great living doing it, you want to work at Jaynes Physical Therapy. It's amazing. And today we're talking to the CEO, the man himself, Casey Jaynes. So Casey, I wanted to get into, part of the reason that it's so important for us to talk about, you are hiring, but it's so important for the candidate to know who they're going to be working for. Okay. And that's why we're doing this. It's not something that happens every day, to where you get a chance to see the person that you're going to be interacting with. I tell you, you were sort of on a pre-med track. Is a pre-med a lot like pre-law? Like, you know what I mean? Like everything is pre-law, before that.
Yes.
But if you're on sort of like a medical field track, you were saying that, your grandpa always used to tell you that, you'd be, a great doctor in the medical field, and you are a doctor. What is it about, and we don't have to go into the history on why you switched, but just from personal experience really quick, I've had physical therapy before. I've been in accidents, the whole nine, and I always notice that it takes a very special kind of person to really want to do that job. It's not easy.
Not
Particularly,
always. Sometimes it is. Not always.
well, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember being in a there's a place that I was going to for a while. That one thing I didn't like about it is that, you were there with other people, and I'm like, so home care is what you do is absolutely fantastic. Somebody like me, it's like, it was almost like I'm there, I'm getting my physical therapy around a bunch of other people, and I'm like, I just really don't want y'all knowing my business. You know what I'm saying? So if I could have had the option, of a physical therapist coming to my house, that would be fantastic. But anyway, it takes a special person to really do it. And you guys treat all sorts of different things, from car accidents
We get a number
to
of things
like
we actually do get for
strokes.
car accidents. Yeah.
Huh?
So I mean, yeah. So showing home care, you have
Yeah.
to be homebound. Like you're not independent in the community. So we do get a lot of elderly people, and a lot of those are deconditioned. A lot of those are falls. A lot of those are coming out of the hospital, hospitalized for whatever illness. We
Yeah.
do get people coming out of surgery. And then, the general surgery. Of course, we get our orthopedic patients. That's typically the younger people, joints, hip and knee replacements, back surgeries. They might be 50s, 60s, 70s. Um,
But I
70s
mean,
pretty young, by the way.
I guess my
But
point, I guess my point is that it takes a special person to, for one, want to go into this field. I
yeah,
imagine that
the
there's
people
a,
coming into physical therapy, it's going to be you're going to be a people person.
yeah,
You enjoy working with people. You enjoy kind of like the just working hand in hand with people. You enjoy the usually a strong level of communication, a strong level of compassion and caring. You really want to be there to help them, through whatever they're going through, and to
Yeah.
recover. And that's what really brings joy and pleasure for for most therapists. I mean, anybody
Yeah.
who really cares. And again, that's why 99% of us do it. We're not just here for a profession because physical therapy is a 4-year undergraduate degree and a three-year postgraduate degree. It's 7 years. So, it's not like I just think I'm going to do this to get a job. It's like, people who
Right.
are doing this, and before you even apply to physical therapy, so you have to have, experience hours, whether it's a volunteer or a tech, in a clinic or a hospital or whatever setting. So, they want you coming in knowing that this is what you want to do. And then it's a big time investment, it's a big financial investment. So,
Oh yeah.
people going in, they know that this is what I want to do. You don't have a lot of people kind of, fall through and be like, I changed my mind. It's pretty rare. So, you get people again, they're people. They want to work with people. They enjoy working with people. They're good communicators. They're compassionate. They care about what they do. They want to see good outcomes. They want to help people, get through whatever they're going through in
Yeah.
that phase of life, injury or whatever setback.
So obviously, it takes a special person, a good heart,
It
it's
does.
somebody that wants to see that patient thrive again.
Yes.
I mean, I can't imagine. Well, I can imagine actually, because in 2020, yeah, in 2020, I had a severe injury, and all of a sudden, I'm going from, somebody that's, going to the gym every other day. I had
Uh-huh.
lost like 100 pounds, you
Oh
know,
wow.
and I get this, or I re-injure my back. It was a thing, and I'm not able to walk really. I couldn't walk, like flat out. I couldn't walk. I'm not trying. I'm not to be too proud about it, but it was a
Yeah.
big deal. And so there were people that helped me back to being able to be
Nice.
mobile again. I mean, it was such a big. It was. I mean, you talk about a turning point in my life.
Yes.
It was a big deal, and the people I worked with, even though I was going, and there were, you know, and I would try to go early as I possibly could, so
Uh-huh.
that I wouldn't be around like other people, right? So I was like the first one at like 7
Oh,
a.m. But
nice.
it went from having to be helped in the door
Okay.
to being mobile, hobbling. I mean, my gosh, this was 3 years. I mean, you know, I'm in my early 40s, and I'm moving like, I'm not like I'm 90. It was a thing. But
Yeah.
the therapists that worked with me were, man, they were patient, encouraging. It was obvious I I'm a guy. If if I can't do it, then it's a problem. And I was, and yeah, I was super proud, very embarrassed, very
Yeah.
embarrassed. And they were just so patient with me. So I have so much respect for people that do what you do. Because if it wasn't for y'all, I I mean, I'm still injured. I still have my issues. I need physical therapy. Um, by the way, if I get to New Orleans,
Yeah,
but
man.
but but
Come
at the
see me.
same time, it's just it's people that do what you do. It's very close to my heart. You know. So let
Yeah.
me ask this: can you pinpoint, without saying names, of course, and all of that,
Mhm.
but can you pinpoint a patient that you'll never forget, that went from, one being can't immobile to like 10 being, running a marathon or whatever, or at least walking normally. Can you pinpoint one that just completely broke your heart, and it, like a movie kind of thing?
Um, I mean, as far as, I mean, I've seen a number of, traumatic,
Yeah.
things. But like one of the coolest things was, I mean, the guy was just deconditioned for being in the hospital. And a lot of patients, especially when they're start getting up in age, they're coming out the hospital and they might be in their 80s. Sometimes when they're in their early 70s, but a lot of times when they're 80s and 90s, they're coming out and they're thinking, "Oh wow, will I ever get back to where I was? Oh wow, will I ever be functional again?" And there's
Yeah.
this one individual, and I think trying to think, I think his daughter was translating for him. He was Chinese, and he was so obviously you get sick and you're going to get weaker, right? You have a surgery, your body gets weaker as well. You get stuck in bed, well, yeah, that contributes also, and you have all these things compounding, right, that weaken you. But once the medical issues are cleared up, well, now you're able to start building strength again, right? And if you're willing to work towards that consistently, it's just a matter of time before you get back to where you were, barring some unforeseen medical setback.
Sure.
So, he was, deconditioned from hospitalization. I don't recall if he had a surgery or not. And of course, being stuck in bed for a while during the hospitalization while he was sick. So coming home, he was very weak, very unsteady on his feet. And before he was, I don't recall if he was completely independent in the community, but he was definitely independent, like in and around the house and up and down the stairs. So, very, very independent, very mobile, and very immobile, and couldn't do much when he first got home. Very, very low endurance, very unsteady on his feet. I
Mm.
believe he needed, a walker and everything, and still just very difficult to get around. Very, very
Yeah.
short distances. And we worked with him for a few weeks. I don't recall it as being a prolonged period of time. I mean, maybe 4 to 6 weeks or something. And he was doing great, and kind of back in action. So when I
Wow.
went out for the last visit, to discharge him, his daughter was, he was, as I was finishing up, he was thanking me. His daughter he's saying, thank you so much, because he thought he was going to die. And, he's so appreciative, that you helped him get better and get back to how he was.
Amen.
And when you see stuff like that, which, not everybody's to that degree, some people are, but mostly not that bad. But there was a big, big setback.
Oh.
Went from completely independent to very, very impaired,
Mm.
mobility, endurance, balance. I mean, I want to say he was probably going like maybe 20, 30 feet at a time with a walker, coming from being completely independent without an assistive device, cane walker, nothing, up and down
Mm.
stairs, doing what you want. That's a big deal. And so, there are really cool opportunities like that, in physical therapy as a whole, and including, but not limited to home care, but certainly included in the home health setting.
That what a great story. That's incredible. Wow, that is so cool. So, gosh, what when someone when you hire someone, right? When someone's
Huh?
coming on your team, what is it that they can expect?
I expect.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, what I look for, I mean, number one, and again, this isn't most people. Most people, again, they are compassionate. They are looking to help people.
Yeah.
They enjoy what they do. But that's number one. Not somebody just coming through for a job, to get a paycheck.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, in addition to that, looking for someone who's, enjoys being a part of a team, who works well, not just with the patient, but works well within a team, because, you're going to be working with an assistant. You're going to be working with other disciplines in the home, nursing, occupational therapy, sometimes speech therapy. They're going to be working with, have to communicate with people in the office. So there's a good bit of, communication. There's a good bit of relationship going on, just being able to, work with people, communicate with people, function, as part of a team. It's not just me, doing my job with my patient. I'm part of a collective whole. And,
Yeah.
it's about working together as a team to accomplish not just me and my patient, but us and our patients. So
Got it.
coming onto the team, you can expect to be a part of a team. And, so, I mean, we work,
And what
I
and
guess,
what
from
and
a,
what and what can they expect out of you as a
oh, to me,
boss and a
okay.
leader?
So I do my very best to be available to help, to
Mhm.
teach, to train, especially in coming on. I guess, some people are very proficient in home care. They're very proficient on the documentation system. They don't need a ton of assistance. I always really work hard to make myself available, though, for when people do need assistance, even if it's just communicating with the office or getting stuff scheduled to them. I mean, I'm in the field myself, so but I do, I'm always in between patients, I'm available. I'm checking my texts, my phones. A lot of times I'm just in the car, so I'll shoot voice messages, if it's something short, or I'll call people. Or if it's just, hey, I need help with this, I'll just shoot them a message. Hey, just, contact someone, so do this or that, or if they're having trouble with that, hey, I'll give them a call. Let's see if
Yeah.
I can kind of, find out what's going on and speed things up, things along those lines. And for the newer people, especially people who are newer to the home health setting or newer to the documentation system, I make myself very available, especially early on. Like I'll leave my ringer on like during visits. So just in case, they need something so they're not getting stuck. But do my very best again to kind of train them up, show them kind of how everything works so they can, learn to be efficient, to streamline everything. So they can not just do the job, but they can do it well, they can do it efficiently, they can enjoy it. Because nobody wants to, go see a patient and then like not be comfortable with the documentation, then come home and have like 2 hours of notes to do at the end of your day either. So, it's about, again, kind of learning to be efficient in the process so that you can both treat and enjoy what you do.
That's incredible. And doing your best to ensure that, they, that the part where, being a professional,
Yeah. I
is,
really do my best
fine.
to
And they,
build out a team.
yeah.
And,
Well,
want to have that team aspect.
well, and you're not a small company. I mean, when it comes to you know what I mean? So it's really, really neat. And the fact that you make yourself available, I'm just impressed that you can do it and do it well. Obviously you wouldn't be doing it well if, you're going on 10 years. So you got some track record behind you. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna get into some pretty cool waters. So stay tuned. We will be right back with Casey Jayne.
White Husky Films. Dream, create, record. We create ads and promos for your business. We can promote your video on television, Facebook, YouTube, Hulu, and more. We do a full Google SEO analysis for you with any plan. Call us today at 305-744-1444 or visit our website at whitehuskyfilms.com. White Husky Films. You'll be glad you did.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I tell you, during the break, we're having a great conversation. I don't know, at some point I'm thinking maybe we should put in like the behind the scenes, when we start maybe doing like what do they have now, like if you like a paywall subscription, and we can do the edits of like, a bunch of our guests and the conversation, because sometimes the conversations during the break are pretty awesome in and of themselves. But we were talking during the break about just the how big your team is, and really I love the fact that you're talking about your employees as a team. My team is this, I love that. I absolutely love it. It's refreshing. It's in a day and age that where we have sort of a transient way of looking at employment. There's so many people that, and I mean, medical field's a little different, but there's so many people that are looking for the get in, get out. People look at a resume and it's so funny. It's like, if you've done contract and you've worked, your longest stint is maybe a year and a half, 2 years somewhere, that's a red flag. But then if you've been at a place for 18 years, that's a red flag. I mean, it's just such a weird, way of, but I love the fact that, you're not asking anybody in your team to walk on roads that you haven't trod. And I absolutely love that. I love your heart. Part of this show's, mantra, I guess you could say, or our values are, when there's a candidate, looking to be hired somewhere, or an employee or whatever, to be able to get into the mind of the leader, to glean something, from them, because at some point it trickles down to whomever they hire. It's really, really neat. If you look at who the leader is, you can probably tell what the company's about, right? And so it's really great. I am so just thrilled with our conversation today. But you keep on saying things like, God told me, I felt in my heart, I do it, and as a fellow man of faith, I appreciate that to a great degree.
Thank you.
I also love the fact that you there's no secret about it. There's you make no bones about what you believe, and I absolutely love that. Can you take us through? You don't have to go through your whole testimony, but take us through sort of that walk and how it impacts you today. I mean, you're a Chi Alpha guy. My wife's a Chi Alpha woman, I mean, she traveled the world with Chi Alpha, in Sacramento and Davis. Yeah. She worked, not worked. She played in Argentina, South Africa, Greece. I mean, she traveled the world playing music with Chi Alpha. And it's just such a wonderful on-campus ministry. Sean Smith was, I think, was the leader then. He's a very well-known evangelist. I mean, you know who Sean is, and it's just pretty great. It's pretty awesome, like your journey. Can you take us through it a little bit?
Sure. Actually, I grew up a Christian. Gave my life to Christ when I was 4, and never turned away. So, grew up in a Christian home as well. My mom led me to Christ when I was 4. And I remember she sat down and so obviously had grown up in church, and she's telling me about Jesus. And I remember she's like, "And do you want to pray with me, for, to receive Jesus?" And I was like, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, she's trying to talk me into something. I'm like, no. And so she's like, okay, well, that's okay.
4 years old.
I felt so bad after. I'm like, well, I mean, I was pretty close to 5. I remember my brother turned 3. We're 21 months apart. So it was within, I was within. I
was pretty close to 5. I mean, I had some experiences.
But, I was like, I felt so bad. I'm like, man, I really want to pray. And so I went and found her a little bit later. I was like, no, I really do want to pray. I want Jesus in my heart. And but anyway, grew up, in a Christian home as a Christian, living a Christian life through high school. I didn't have a lot of Christian friends in high school necessarily, but did have some good friends there. And then we got to LSU, and go to LSU, and people from church be like, "Are you sure you want to go to LSU? Like, better pray about that. That's a party school." And but it is what you make it.
That's right.
I mean, I didn't know where the bars were until probably my 3rd or 4th year, when people when I was passing by down Nichols, they're like, "Oh, that's this over here." I'm like, "Okay, cool," or whatever. So, but I got up there and I'm like, "Man, there's Christians everywhere. This is awesome." I'm like, there was like I got plugged in. So I had friends at Chi Alpha. I actually plugged into Living Waters, which was a campus ministry from a local church in Baton Rouge. Had a bunch of friends at Chi Alpha, friends from the chapel on the campus and the Baptist Student Union at the time, BCM, Baptist Collegiate Ministries now, and Campus Crusade, and a number of other groups, I'm sure. But man, it was fun. Just make a lot of friends. Go to the rec. We play basketball, learned how to play racquetball. They had like a gym, like, "Oh, I want to lift weights." Like, that's awesome. Like, "Oh, they got a running track. Yeah, I want to run. They got a swimming pool." I actually swam some in high school, so that was cool. Cool. Oh, racquetball, this is a blast. And so just, we'd hang out, here or there weekends. I marched Tiger Band. That was a lot of fun as well. And so
that's super cool.
It's a pretty busy schedule. And
that's
then at
super
some point
cool. Yeah.
What kind of saved me for studies is I was probably a few weeks into the semester, maybe 3-4 weeks in or something, and had some friends a couple years older. They're like, "Hey, you want to go study with us at a coffee shop?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. I got something I can study for. I got a test coming up." And like I hardly studied before that. Like, I mean, I worked really hard through high school, like grammar
Yeah.
school, all grade school, high school, worked hard, was, really focused. I remember getting to college and I was like, I've worked really hard, through high school and stuff. Like, I want to have
Yeah.
some fun, like, make some friends and, I'll study and like maybe I could just kind of make B's for the semester, make A's on the finals or something. So, needless to say, my first semester or two didn't go so hot. It
Right.
picked it up after that, though. I had to refocus. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
made a
Yeah.
bunch
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
friends.
It's
Had a
like,
great
wait
time
a
with
minute,
all
wait.
that.
It's like, wait a minute. Did the Lord, I just shouldn't say this. Oh,
So,
I
but
should not say it. It's like, did the Lord, you want me to stay an extra year? Because I kind of have to anyway. I might as well. No, I'm
yeah,
kidding.
it could have gone that road. I mean, yeah, if I didn't refocus, I was like,
Yeah.
but yeah, but kind of, I did all right. But yeah, definitely had to refocus. There, you're not getting
Yeah.
into PT school if you're. I don't remember what the exact requirements were, but if you're like 3.0
Well, they're
or below
high.
that,
They're
yeah,
high.
and
I
well, it's
mean,
competitive
you're
because you have more
going,
people applying
you're
than
becoming a
you have
doctor.
spots available.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
I
you're
mean,
not, it's not a philosophy. You know what I'm
it's in the
saying? It's you're dealing with people and helping them recover.
yeah,
It's a big deal. It
it's a big
really is
deal.
a big deal.
So
So yeah,
yeah, so
in fact, I expect my expect my physical therapist to, have done that. If I'm moving this way and I'm moving that way, but it's gonna hurt me, I mean, what's the point? I'm so glad you're a doctor and not in,
yeah, pretty cool.
not in something that's like, I am a frame. I am the frame. As I look at the frame, let's discuss.
Yeah, not
You know what I
philosophy.
mean?
Yeah, something
So it's
practical.
so it's it's very it's not, so I think it's wonderful. I think it's absolutely great. Um
So
so
yeah,
so
but yeah,
you
I mean, I
go
got to
you
LSU though,
yeah,
and yeah,
well,
I get up
I
there
mean
and I was like, I
can
plugged in right away. Made a bunch of Christian friends, but I got involved with campus ministry. I remember, and I had several friends in that ministry, who were like, oh well, I strayed away for a couple of years. I got into the party scene and this and that. I remember, kind of for me, like one of my defining moments was I remember, I had been baptized when I was young, when I was probably around 5 or 6. And but I made a choice. They had baptism. I was like, I'm getting baptized. And it wasn't a profession of faith, though. It was a profession of commitment for me. Like as faith, as like I'm not that I'm not having to dedicate my life to God
mm,
or give my life to Christ. I'm not having to renew or come back to faith for something that I strayed away from. My profession and my commitment was, I know that a lot of people come to college and they lose their way. They lose their faith. They lose their relationship with God. And I'm committing to not do that. And so that was my commitment. I was getting baptized to say, this is for real for me. This is my commitment. This is my heart, and I commit to continue on this path and in my relationship with God. And that's exactly what I did.
so for you it was kind of the not the opposite, because it's not like you weren't a partier in high school, but you didn't have a lot of
Correct.
Christian friends, and then all of a sudden in the place that Huey
Yeah.
Long started, uh the most irreverent politician of the 20th century, some would say. And then you have, in Baton Rouge, in a place that's not necessarily known for,
Well, it was a top 10 party school when I was there.
singing
My
"Oh
freshman
Holy
year.
Night."
It was in
Well,
the top
yeah, I
10.
mean, it's like you had these experiences where not only are you, it's sort of the opposite for you, but you get involved in ministry, campus
Uh-huh.
ministry, that
Yep.
I know what that's like through Erica, I mean, hearing her about it. And I mean, I grew up assemblies and I didn't really know much about Chi Alpha, and here I am, Mr. Assemblies of God, and I didn't know what a right mission field. If you're
Oh,
going to be
very
doing
much.
something like that, I just feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like, the path, the road of your life
Mhm.
has really been one preparation after another.
Yes, I would agree with
I
that.
mean,
You can see that, like when you look back, hindsight's 2020. Like you
I'm
don't see it
looking
in the
at your,
process.
I'm looking
You
at
just see it.
your, I'm looking at your LinkedIn, and
Uh-huh.
I see it all over the place. It's
Okay.
amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, and this is, just me, but I see it. It's just so incredible. You,
It's really cool. Like when you look back on it to see like how, I mean, but it says that, God ordains the steps of a righteous man. And so if we're just willing to participate with God and what he wants to do, so many
mm,
people, and again, I mean, looking back, like I remember thinking, and it's true, we have to submit, we have to come under the mission of God, right? Which
yeah,
is submission. And that is true. But what is the purpose of submission? Submission is to bring ourselves under his mission and participate with him in what he's doing. So if I want to be a part of what God's doing, I do have to submit and come under his mission. And then I can participate with what he's doing. And that in itself is a process because I have to grow to participate more and more, right? There's only so much I can participate with, you know, if I'm going to throw a football in the yard as a 5-year-old, there's only so much I can do, right? As a 10-year-old, there's a lot more. As a 15-year-old, as a 20-year-old, right? As a 20-year-old, if you're that good, you're in the NFL, right? As a 15-year-old, you're playing varsity if you're that good, right? You might be a freshman, sophomore, but you're playing varsity. 20, 21-year-old, you're in the NFL if you're that good. Or certainly, Division D1 college, D2 college, you're playing college ball, when you're 18, 19, 20,
you could be a
21,
tiger.
NFL.
That's right.
Could be a tiger. And so, but it's the same thing spiritually. And so, God will, he takes us where we are. He calls us, to come, and he accepts us as we are. He doesn't call us to stay as we are, right? That's a process. It's a growth process. Well, we're called to be transformed to the image of Christ, right? And Christ, who is infinite, right? So we have a never-ending process of growth. And yet, the more we grow, the more we can participate with God in
I,
what he's doing and be a part of that.
I tell you, it's so important. Um, in my opinion, in business, particularly if you're going to be someone who professes their faith so openly, to really
Better back it
be
up.
about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because there's so many that haven't, that have used it like used it as a backstage pass for for people's trust and stuff like that. I love the fact that your life has begun and is continuing on a path of service, whether it's ministry. You can even look at what you do as a ministry. I mean, the people, well, if they don't know, they'll know now after the show. But if they didn't know, there's a reason. There's a reason for it. And I just think I am just thrilled beyond belief, just to be able to sit down to really get into your story. And I just anyone that's working for you, and then we have two open roles that you're actively recruiting for now. I'm telling you, submit your resume. You can go on to LinkedIn and look up Jaynes Physical Therapy on LinkedIn. You can submit your resume there, get in contact with you. And all these links are going to be in the description. Even me, people can reach out to me and we can get things going. We can make this happen. But I tell you, I don't want to end this podcast, but you're going to be on it a lot. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. I really would like this to be like sort of a monthly thing where we get together on Work Your Career Wednesday, and we can talk about, the medical field, talk about, things that are happening. But it was so important for me to get you on so people can see exactly who you are, see the Casey behind the Jaynes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And really be excited about submitting a resume, about working for a JPT. I tell you, let me ask this: the who has been with you the longest out of your team? Not to name their name, but how many years have they been with you?
Longest, I think probably, yeah, I mean, it's my primary PT in New Orleans area. He's been with me since I started in March of 15. I started with me and one PTA, and I didn't really, to be honest, I didn't see much beyond that. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then it started getting a little busier, and I was like, oh, look, maybe I can pick up two PTAs and just have like a little team. That was the biggest I saw. And then pretty quick, there were a couple opportunities that came along that I didn't feel like I was leading me to, but I knew that he had led me to that one contract and had other people contact me. I carried like probably 4 or 5 other contracts at one point because people reach out to me because of my coverage area.
No,
But
sure. Man, how long,
um,
how long has he been with you?
and he's been since January of 16,
Since January of 16.
so less than a
Can you
year into it.
believe we are approaching the 10-year mark from 2016? Oh, that's nuts,
Getting
man.
relatively close. Wow. So I started, yeah, 15. So yeah, we're kind of getting relatively
Can you
close.
believe it? So the person that's, almost since you started, like a
Yeah.
few months before. The point is that people don't stick around if there's not something great there. So not for nothing, you got a great thing going with JPT, and you got a great team, and I'm looking forward to having us add
Thank you.
on to it. So I now again, Casey is going to be back with us, so so stay tuned for that. We're going to have a lot more with Dr. Jaynes. I can say that, Dr. Jaynes. But you know, is there anything you'd like to add before we close out?
I don't think so. I think everything's, I mean, unless you had something else that you're thinking of, but nothing comes to mind.
You know what? I love that. No, I'm good. I'm good. Guys, I gotta tell you, I'm over the moon to be working with Casey and JPT, and I gotta tell you, uh, submit your resumes. Let's get it done. Lots of changes are happening, but I tell you what, um, I will say this with absolute conviction: God is good, and I can't
Amen.
wait to talk with you. I know Dr. Jaynes can't wait to talk with you, but I got to tell you that as we close out every show, first of all, I'd like to thank you. Thanks, Casey, for coming on and just
Thanks for having
sharing
me.
your heart, sharing who you are. Of course, it's an honor. Thank you for coming on. And for everything else, for everyone else, we're going to close it out like we do every show, to tell you that from everyone at White Husky Films Work Your Career Wednesday, I love you and God bless you. Let his face shine upon you, give you great peace, be excellent to yourself and each other, and I will see you next week. Take care.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Hey, if you like Work Your Career Wednesday and want to be notified every single time we have a new episode, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, smash it, get a hammer and get it. And
Yeah, that's fine.
too much?
No, that's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I love it. People want.
Do you hear Steven in the background? I was just making sure I'm going to be okay. But get that notification going. And hey, we will be letting you know, or I guess YouTube will be letting you know, when the next Work Your Career Wednesday is on. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Man, ding it, ring it, sling it, and bang it. All right? And we will see you soon. Work Your Career Wednesday. Oh, great. I'm glad you stopped by. Be sure to get that subscription bell, and I'll see you there.